All right, we are here. What is up, everybody? Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2018 Innovation Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show for dads, fathers, and male caregivers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And our team since 2020 has reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers. And update. We are just tallying up our numbers for this year. And it looks like we're going to pass 100,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers reached out again this year. So we are celebrating that event. When it becomes stamped, we will make it approved. And I'm joined by my good co-host of Black Men Can Talk, Kofi Sadat. What is going on?
I am good. In fact, I would say I'm great this week. It's great to see you as usual. Coming off a serious high, man. This week that
Talk
I'm
to me. Talk to me. I love celebrating wins.
Listen, I'm telling you. So I had the great opportunity to go to Acha Kwanzaa yesterday, the African Canadian Heritage Association right here in Scarborough. It was beautiful just to see people come out to celebrate, Kwanzaa, the principles. I know it's the pre-Kwanzaa, I should say, celebration, but it was great just to connect with folks from all over the city. And then today I was in Durham at the Black Queens of Durham.
Oh,
Um, their annual events, the winter event. It was just like for the weekend they had over 2,000 people come out.
hold on. How many?
Over
How
2,000
many?
people come out. 2,000, right? And I only came for today, and there were so many people there. They did such a great job. We got to hail it up for the Black Queens.
How many? I'm still trying to get
Listen,
over.
listen. There was at one point I was there helping my partner, and I was just like, "Yo, this is too much for me." There was just people crowded, right? But it was a
Wow.
good vibe. They had all types of products and services, entertainment, delicious food. But really, again, like I said, it was really about community coming out. And yeah, I just love this time of year because so many good things are happening. So many good things are coming up. So I'm just like, yo, I'm feeling good. I had to rush to get back here, but yo, the vibes, woo, love it,
Where
love
did
it.
they hold the event?
It was held at I think the oddly Ajax Community Center,
Yes,
I believe
Ajax
it's
Convention.
called.
Is the community center or convention center?
This is the community center, not the
Okay,
convention
community
center.
center.
Right?
Okay.
And yeah, which is great. They had like over like 60 vendors.
What?
Yeah, wall to wall. Apparently, they had like over 200 applications from vendors. So they was
What?
very, selective to get people in. But it shows the level of interest. And as we say, Ujama, right? In terms of cooperative economics in the community, so many people are like doing their thing independently, right? Which is a beautiful thing to see. We're shifting. I see the shift, like we used to go to school just to get a job, but there's so many people with great ideas and great connection that are building these businesses. So I want to give it up to all of the entrepreneurs that were there today, and of course the Black Queens of Durham. If you haven't heard of them, you need to. Apparently, they were announcing they have over 12,000 members. Right? When last, a grassroots organization, yeah, 12,000 members. I think it was 12,600. We have to throw the 600 in there to make sure that matters, right? But great work, great work. So I want to
I'm
blow
still
them
trying
up.
to get past the 2,000. Now you struck me to 12,000.
Members, yeah, 12,000 members. So listen, Black men, Canada, across, we want to hit that 10,000 number as well ourselves, but we gotta hail
Yeah.
up those sisters, man. They're putting in some work, you know,
Wow.
put in some work.
We need to get them on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One time. One
We
time.
need to get them on. So let's just catch up some people chiming in. Hello, Minnie on cam. Hope you're keeping fine and safe as always. Frequency of Event Promotion says, yep, I was there yesterday. It was a great turnout. Wanted to attend today as well. Also says the event is growing. Shout out to Asha and Fatim.
Yes.
Minnie
Yes.
on cam, it sounds like you need them on. Yes, I do need them on the show. Black Queens of Durham,
Yep.
100%. Frequency Event says, good day, Dr. Vibe and Sadat Kofi. And Mignon Can says, I'm downtown trying to find events that align with my mission. That's an interesting, I guess we're talking Toronto centric here, but do
Right.
you, while you are out about more than I am, do you see any black focus events in the downtown core? Because it seems a lot of them are in the
Yeah.
suburbs, out like GTA. Are you hearing or seeing anything down there?
I think one of the things, to be honest, is that it's like a population shift. As we recognize that, I mean, for those of us who came here in the '70s and '60s, I didn't come in the '60s, but let's say um, families that came in the '70s. There's been, like we live in the east part of the city. For people who don't know, Scarborough. But then from Scarborough, a lot of people went east to Durham
Yeah,
or north to York Region, Markham.
100%.
And I know on the other side, people went from the West End to Brampton, right? So I think the populations out there, and I've heard from statistics that by percentage wise, out in the East, Durham region has the most black people, percentage
Yes,
wise,
yeah. The
right?
Durham region, and this
And
may
it's
be
growing,
dated. Yeah,
growing,
it may be dated, but I've been told the Durham region has the highest concentration of Black slash African Canadians in any geographic area in this country.
right? And the fact a lot of them are homeowners. That's the other thing too. That's a lot different than that population out there. A lot of
Yeah,
them have moved out to Bowmanville, and even my own sister, um, and other parts. So they're going really east, right? So I think that's probably why you're not seeing as many things happen downtown in terms of the markets. But with downtown, the market's always open, right?
right.
So this is why when things happen, you know, outside of the downtown region, a lot of people flock to it. Plus, a lot of people don't really live downtown. So, but there, I mean, I'd have to think about it. There's always, especially around this time when there's Kwanzas and stuff like that, there's always things that are happening across the
Got it.
city and across the country, right? So
Yeah.
even myself,
Wow.
I love going crossing the border to go to Detroit for Kwanzaa. I love their Kwanzaas. I've been to Buffalo, but yeah, definitely, it's that time of year where a lot of open markets are happening. So just scour the internet, Instagram, whatever, you'll find something.
It's interesting to say that a good friend, close friend, actually went down to Detroit and went down to the Motown Museum for the first time today, and I got pictures sent back, and they were having just an incredible time at the Motown Museum. Have you ever been to that museum?
It's funny, because my sister-in-law is from Detroit, and my brother-in-law, actually, I have never been there, and I've probably been going there. It sounds strange, man. I've probably been going there for at least 25 years,
You're
right? But
kidding.
but
You've
I
never.
I look at it. I call it the CN Tower syndrome. Like, how
Yeah,
many times have you been to the CN Tower? Right?
once.
That's my point.
Once.
Right? And
I almost went this year because United Way was having a climbing challenge. I said, no, I'll donate. I'm not doing 1,600 steps. Thank
right.
you very much. I'm not
This is
doing
it.
it.
This is it.
Some more comments here. Mignon, Kansas. My family was downtown. Scarborough moved to Peel Region and Ajax, but me, I found my spot downtown. Plus, it depends if they're having children or not. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Frequency of it process when planning events, I try to keep events central, but I'm finding that folks are always requesting to host event in Durham.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Frequency. You got to do an event in Durham. I heard that
yeah,
today too.
yeah. I
Maybe
think
some of my events, they're like, yo, you got to come out here. I'm like, all right, why not?
okay. What else we got here? Yeah, and Mignon Camp's right. Downtown is a different culture than the burbs. 100%. 100%. Now, let's see. Kofi Morris, are you with us? Are you able to unmute? If you're not, okay. Kofi doesn't look like you're with us. Oh,
Peace,
you're
family.
unmuting?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Can you
you.
hear me? All right. Peace and blessings, everyone. Looking forward to tonight's convo. If you're just tuning in, I'm live here in remote, but I'll be stationary shortly.
Good.
All
Good.
right.
How has your week been?
Week is powerful. Week is powerful, Dr. Vitus. It's the Earth Strong Week. So it's celebrations and, reflections and, time with family and connections is coming from my grandmother's 89th birthday. Her birthday's today, so we're 3 days apart.
Nice.
So just connecting with
I,
family, spending quality
I,
time.
I was going to ask give me one win you had this week, but you already gave it. That celebration of her birthday is huge.
100%. 100%. She's
That is
full
good
of
stuff.
energy, you know, full of spunk.
Good stuff.
This is
Well,
good, man.
Frequency Event Promo says we'll be bringing at least one of our mixers to Durham, all coming soon. Good. So you're taking the initiative. Excellent. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we have another, well, not a new friend to Kofi Sadat or to Kofi Morris. I have maybe met this gentleman maybe once or twice in my journey. So I am loaded with questions to find out all about him.
Great, great.
He smiled a little bit. He says, "No, don't worry. I'm not gonna be hard on you, brother. We're gonna make you shine. We're gonna make you shine tonight." So let's take a little bit of break. We're gonna be back in just a moment, and we'll have another.
Hey, Dr. Vibe, this is Nigel Gordyke checking in from Waterloo in Southwest Ontario. I love your show, especially how it takes conversations that we're having in the community and expands them into the broader community, so more and more people can get involved and engaged. That expands on the topics and takes them to a wider audience. And it enables more of us to feel engaged and part of the community. Thank you for including me in one of those conversations recently. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Much love.
Thank you, as always, for the support. And welcome to Black Men Can Talk, a show where Black Canadian men can come together to have real, unfiltered conversations about life, culture, and community. Also, if you want to subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, hit that notification button. Tell people about the conversation. I'd also like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I, myself, Kofi Morris, or Kofi Sadat is on. Touch base with me via email, dr.vibe@vibeshow.com. And also join the Black Men Can Talk Discord group, which Paul finally found out last week what Discord is all about. Email me, dr.vibe@vibeshow.com. Also want to shout out to Mr. Shaheen liking the conversation on Facebook. Thank you, my brother. Paul, I'm going to let you introduce our friend for the today.
There you go. It's a friend of the family. I'll always say that. All right. So for those who don't know, now you know. We're going to bring on Andrew Dillon, aka Slingshot, or Slingshot the mayor. We'll find out all what that means. The mayor of what? But basically, Slingshot is one of the many DJs from the King Turbo. In fact, he's one of the founders of King Turbo Sound, which we're gonna allow y'all to get a sneak peek into, who King Turbo is, for those who don't know. But essentially, they came from the Malvern neighborhood in Scarborough. In 1989, they formed their sound crew by going to dances, doing dance hall, basement party after basement party, winning clash after clash. And of course, they have to this day the iconic reggae show they have on 89.5 FM, one of the longest running shows. In fact, I think it is the longest reggae show that's out there beyond that. But definitely not just an icon, from the Canadian perspective, but worldwide. King Turbo is known and have shown and made us proud being a Canadian sound system. But even beyond the icon, being someone who's a mentor to younger sounds, right? And we'll talk about the importance of that as well. So without further ado, please.
You know what? Just before we bring him up, hail up, because I don't want to compete with King Turbo. Okay. Last night, I was actually at a premiere for a documentary about Jay Douglas.
Ooh, nice. Of course.
And it was an amazing documentary. The initial screening was on Wednesday, but because of weather, Wednesday evening, my parents didn't want to go, but we went last night, went down, hail up Jay Douglas, longtime friend of my family.
Yes.
And incredible icon, great story. And actually one of the people that was down there, maybe some people know. Does anyone remember the name Michael Williams?
Listen, I know Slingshots in the background laughing because Jay Douglas and Mike Williams, we got to know those folks, right?
So there you go. Michael Williams was there. I had about a 20-minute conversation. I speak with him periodically, and I'm going to see if we can get him on this program because he used to, for many years, live out in Hamilton. Now he has transitioned. He's living in the beaches. So he's an East Ender now.
Okay, nice.
So
nice.
I didn't want to complete with King Turbo. I just wanted to give that hail up. But now it is his time. Instead of the wheels of steel, he's the wheels of digital. What's up?
What's going on, man? What's going on?
Everything. Great to have you. How you doing today?
I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed. And
Have
how
you?
was everything? How's everything with the Monday?
You know what? I'm blackalicious and I'm above ground. Anything else is a bonus.
Right, 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 right.
Anything
Well,
else is
thank you
a
for
bonus.
having me, man.
My
every
pleasure.
time,
Paul,
bro.
absolutely.
All
Paul, you
right.
Every
want to start off?
time.
You don't want me to start off?
Listen, you can go ahead and start off, but
Okay, because I got lots of
before,
things.
but before you go, I just really want to, again, thank you, brother, for making this happen. It's been a long time in the making, especially in my mind, but I just really want to bring up, the important folks that contributed, that people, especially some of the younger people, may not know. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So it's up to us to kind of be griots and tell that story,
Ah, griots. I
about
love that.
what things look like, right? So I'm gonna kick it to Dr. Vibe first, but I have plenty of questions that I
Okay.
I want to ask as well.
All right.
All right.
So first conversation piece. How did you get involved in the world of sound systems and what inspired you to the creation? What's inspired the creation of the King Turbo Sound Crew?
Well, my family has a lot of sound people, right? So I grew up in the sound system culture from my uncle, my dad's friends. We used to travel to their homes in Oakwood and Vaughan, and they'd have a full sound system inside a house. So I was kind of fascinated with that from an early age. Fast forward to the 80s, by listening to like Fantastic Voyage program with Ron Nelson. I used to have DJ competitions, Chic Dynasty versus 12 inches of pleasure, Manifest Destiny, Powerhouse, the whole nine yards. So that piqued my interest more in sound systems because growing up, they say radio is the theater of the mind. So I, I never went to any of these venues, these events, but I can only imagine and dream what that might look like. And they were superheroes to me. The name Chic Dynasty or Manifest Destiny or TKO, I didn't know any of them, but listening to the Fantastic Voyage program, got me fascinated, along with listening to David Kingston on reggae rhythms, Dave Ahmad on Sundays. So I grew up to community radio.
Right.
We fast forward, and then I started from David Kingston listening to dancehall. I always listened to reggae music from my dad on a Sunday. He put on the Burning Spear or Bob Marley or whatever.
There you
Um,
go.
but David Kingston introduced me to dancehall. So I started to learn about Admiral Bailey, about Shabba Ranks, about Supercat, and all these people that I didn't know anything about. And I started to pick up cassettes. I started to make cassettes from listening to the radio. And then one day I was listening to this cassette and they kept on saying the same thing over and over again. I didn't understand it at the time, but then I realized later on that was a dub plate, right? So I was used to live DJing, and then I'm listening to the Silverhawk cassette, and he's saying the same thing over and over again. I didn't know it was a pull up or a wheel up or anything. I didn't know that. I mean, um, so I got involved in DJing. First, I used to DJ like R&B, freestyle, that sort of thing. So I was at 100 Miles, big up Gary 100 Miles, his brother Chris Adams. Um, uh, he brought me into his sound crew. His dad,
Right.
original Soulville, Lady Soulville. I didn't know Soulville at the time, but Chris Adams from Pearson.
Right.
I auditioned for his crew that he had, and he brought me in. So I was the young DJ DJing freestyle and all that. And then I said, you know what? I really love reggae music. I don't see reggae music really. If you wanted to hear reggae music, you have to go to a big people kind of event, like a Barry Culture, a Stera Choice, and
Yeah.
older people. But there wasn't really anything for my generation, right? So I decided to start a sound system for all ages, and
So,
that's
so,
how.
so, so, so let's pause right there because again, knowing the age and the stage, and I know we're in the same age and stage, right?
Right,
Just to put in context for people, 1989. In
right,
1989, you were a teenager,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And the culture you just mentioned were, a lot of older sounds. You mentioned the Barry Cultures and the other folks that we would have been going to dances and or
right,
hearing you guys about. So
Right.
as a teenager, right?
Mhm.
How did you step into that realm? Because that's a big jump, right? Like you guys were maybe 16, 17. I don't know how old at that time, right?
Well, okay. So the DJing part of it, I was mixing and mingle with DJing from I was like 11. So
Right.
when
Okay.
my friends used to go out and play chips with their bikes, I was in my home with a preschool turntable trying to learn how to. And this is from listening to Ron Nelson. Like this is
Right.
breakdancing days. So I'm trying to learn how to scratch and make remixes on a preschool turntable with a cassette player, recording it. So I was always yeah, I was always involved with that, right? And
Right.
then my dad bought me a Pulsar stereo system. So you know the turntable at the top with the double tape deck. So I found a way to put it between the turntable and the first tape deck so I could remix onto the second tape deck. And I did all that kind of stuff. I was fascinated with that, right? So I was DJing from that time, you know, from grade. My first school dance was grade 6, no, grade 7 was my first school dance when I was in grade 7. So I was always been fascinated with the DJ, right? So it was just a natural transition from DJing hip hop because like I used to go, you know, the concert hall and all those kind of stuff. So it was just a natural transition from the hip hop because as a youth, that's what we grew up to. That's what we grew up to. EPMD, Public Enemy, the Cold Crush Brothers. I remember when L Cool J's first album came out. The first time I heard Public Enemy was My Uzi Weighs a Ton. I was around when Scott LaRock passed away,
Yeah.
New York versus Toronto concert hall. I was immersed in all of that
Right.
as a hip hop, and I used to dance with Bolton and those guys. We used to battle at concert hall versus King Lou and the rest of them from the West. So we
Right.
used to have battles with the cameo and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it always drew me back to my culture,
Mm.
uh, the reggae music. How can I apply all this stuff into the reggae music to bring in our generation? You know what I mean?
Right.
Because remember, said before we started, like if you go to a reggae dance, they play the song from the beginning to the end,
Right.
and the needle will even rub onto the label, so you get the
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they turn it over, and then somebody DJs.
Right.
So we kind of brought that hip hop element to it, where we play fast, scratch, and do all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So I've been involved in the DJing from a long time.
When did you realize this was going to be more than a hobby?
Uh, we always have dreams. You know, I remember at Pearson Collegiate, I used to dream that I used to graffiti as well. So I would do the sound logo, what I'm gonna name the sound, and I'm dreaming at that point that I want it to be like Silverhawk, like Gemini, like Stone Love, like it was something that I had in me from. That's what I wanted to pursue, even though my friends might not have seen it
Mm.
as such at the time. But I think it's from an early stage in high school. I knew, okay, I want to do this.
Nice. So where does the name King Turbo come from?
Well, I used to walk through Malvern Town Center to go to Pearson, and I used to pass by Radio Shack every time I walked through the mall in the morning. And they had a video game console called TurboGrafx. So that's where I got the Turbo from. Our early logo says King TurboGrafx on it.
Mm.
Right. And we took off the graphics. Obviously, we have nothing to do with graphics, but that's where I got the logo from, or the name, I should say. The King came from King Jammies because I was a King Jammies fan back in the day, listening to Admiral Bailey, Major Worries, you know, Risto Benji, and the whole 9 yards. I was a King Jammies person, so I named it King Turbo Graphics.
All
Okay,
So, so
good.
give us. I want to kind of figure out. Give us a snapshot of what it was like for you as a young black man growing up in the 80s, 90s, living in the Malvern neighborhood, right? Because often, our environment can influence, our culture. But what was it? What was it like for those who don't know, growing up, in Malvern before the days where the buses didn't even run down from Shepherd, right? Let us know. You remember those painful days? So let us know what that was like.
Malvern was great. As you know, as a kid growing up, you do not realize where you are.
Mm,
You do not realize this is a high risk area, quote unquote. You don't know any of that.
right.
You just know that you're surrounded by love. You're living your life. You're exploring. Malvern was great. You know, you at and there was a lot of music in Malvern.
Mhm.
You had Soul. I lived on the same street as Soulville, so he had his parties every so often across, like on the other side of the street on Horseshoe, and I would hear the bass rumbling from his house, and I'm just looking through my window, imagining, what it must be like, and then across further down you had Gemini used to keep their R&B events on Glanville, and then if you go United Square, you had USC, and then Snowball had
Boxer Joe.
Boxer Joe, exactly. So there was a lot of music in Malvern, and I remember I used to deliver newspapers, the Sunday Sun, growing up in Malvern, and they were just building Mary Shad School, and I don't know why I went off route to go to Mary Shad, but in the snow there was a 12-inch Dana Dane Nightmares. You know what I mean? So I'm like, this has to be destiny for me because how could I find? And I still have the 12-inch somewhere here, but it was
You gotta find it. You
yeah,
gotta find it. You gotta find it.
you know what I mean? So I used to break dance as well. I was in the Crunchy contest on City TV when they used to do the competition at the C&E bandstand.
I
The
remember that.
fight,
Yeah.
right? I was on Stars of Tomorrow in the Scarborough channel when they used to have running that breakdancing. So I was involved in music from an early age, man.
Right. Right. Again,
Cool.
letting the young people know about Malvern, in terms of Scarborough royalty growing up. Again, because people, of course, there's different perceptions because of the media when you talk about Malvern, when you talk about Scarborough. But again, the purity and the love you talk about, I definitely
Hmm.
reflect on that as well. Go ahead,
They,
Doctor.
they
Yeah.
never
Go
bothered
ahead.
me. They never bothered me.
No.
Okay.
Like, I was always a youth dealing with music.
Yeah.
So all these people that they have, I guess, in the media as this type of person or that type of person, I didn't know that side of them, right?
Right.
As music allowed us to walk through Malvern, it allowed us to walk through Galloway, it allowed us to walk through Jane and Finch. It wasn't about color, it wasn't about you're from this side, that side. Everyone loved music and appreciated what we did or what we're doing as ambassadors of music, right? So that was a blessing to be involved in music because that kept me away from a lot of other things, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good stuff. Just want to catch up here. Comments. Mignon Camp says, flashback to my Flop 16 house party where someone stole my dad's old mixer. I found out this year my younger brother, he replaced it. My dad is a DJ selector as a hobby. All right. I should go. Mignon Camp says, I was reminiscing of my man being a reggae artist manager and I got trampled at Jamaica Day event when I was 9. And I
Oh,
don't know. And I think that's why I don't go to concerts now. I met Buju before the age of 12.
Yeah.
And she says, oh, I used to walk down the Phoenix Concert Therapy and walk back home. And says her mom was on Electric Circus. So we're having a
I don't know if I'd be admitting that one. That's
okay.
you would be like this.
So
Unless
we're
you're
here.
playing on Electric Circus like these
There
guys.
you go.
So,
We're
yeah,
here.
yeah.
Well,
You
even
never
last
know.
night with Jay Douglas, you're seeing early pictures of JD Roberts and what was the lady's name? Oh, I can't remember.
Monica Dio.
Well, but who's the lady that used to co-host with him on I can't
Not
remember.
it wasn't Electric Circus, but I know
No,
they
there was
had
they
new
were
music on new music.
not much music. They had, I can't remember her name now. Jeannie
They don't
Becker.
come to you.
That's
Jeannie
it.
Becker.
Jeannie Becker.
Okay.
Yes.
Jeannie Becker, okay.
Jeannie Becker. We're chatting here with myself, Kofi Sadat, and Kofi Morris. Hopefully we can hear you. You're muting. With Andrew Dillon, aka DJ Slingshot from the mighty King Turbo Sound Crew on Black Men Can Talk. Let me ask, for those who may not be familiar, how would you describe the essence of sound system culture and its role in reggae and dancehall music?
Sound system culture before social media was like a radio station. It was a social gathering point that people from similar backgrounds can congregate and discuss issues with each other, socialize. It was a camaraderie, you know what I mean? Before social media, if in Jamaica they use sound system for many different things. Obviously, commerce, where they sell their liquor, or food, or whatever the case was, but they use it to put out social messaging that the radio may not have played, and that transcended to our generation. We would play songs that you wouldn't hear on the radio. You know what I mean? And so um, it brought awareness. You know, it brought awareness. It was a sense of pride, and it is now, but little different now with how things work now. You really don't depend on sound system like you did back in the day. But when you saw a sound or heard a sound or went to an event, the name of that sound and what that brought to you, you would travel. A lot of people would travel miles just to hear Stone Love. What does Stone Love mean to them? They might be from their area. It might be a political alignment that they're supporting, you know, or Bodyguard. People from Clarendon went to go support Bodyguard because it brought back that sense of Clarendon. It's like going to your West Indian supermarket on a weekend. You get what I'm saying? Get your little plantain and everything, and socialize with the people in the West Indian supermarket. You know.
There you go. All right. So here's an off question for you. If you had
Mhm.
to play one character in a movie, right? You had a choice of three roles: Bob Marley, Bunny Wailer, or Peter Tosh. Who would Slingshot play?
Probably Bonnie.
Yeah. And
Probably
why?
Bonnie because he was always in the shadows. You know what I mean? That's me. I'm never the person at the front. You know, I wasn't that type of person. I was more, I would say, Specs, what do you think about this? Or try this, Ricky, try this, or Dice, or Jamin, try this. You know what I mean? And I would leave them to go. If they can try, they may not, but if they're successful, I'm happy because it's a success for everyone. So for me,
Right.
I'm not a front page person.
Right.
Okay.
Which again, that's a very interesting answer because most people will think, hey, is it Peter or is it, Bob?
I
I
don't want
like
the
the fact
attention.
you went that direction, right? So that's
Right,
nice.
right.
Nice.
Nice. Let me ask. I know for a fact that King Turbo is known for its dominance in sound clashes. What
Mm.
makes your crew stand out in these competitions?
It's a funny thing, man, because Sound Clash. First of all, growing up to the sound system culture, obviously I was listening to the sound clashes with Inner City versus Bodyguard, Jaro versus Stereo One Creation. I was involved studying all that, right? So that was just a natural progression for us to try our hand in Sound Clash. But what made us successful was the fact that we didn't have a lot of money. We were kids growing up. So we had to figure out ways how to play better. So I used to practice every day. Every day. I used to practice. A lot of people have talent. Talent is all over, but if you're not applying some sort of practice, discipline to your talent, there's going to be a difference between you and the other person, right? So my mentality is somebody else wants to take my position, so I'm practicing every day. I'm mixing every day, and at least an hour, putting this to every day. That's what I used to do. coming up, right? We didn't have a lot of capital. A lot of the sounds were hustlers, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
they can spend, they can buy 10 bounty killers where we only can buy one. So how are we going to be better than them? So that came with our way of juggling. Our mega mixes was conceived based on the fact we didn't have a lot of money to spend, so we had to figure out ways how to be different,
Right.
right? So that brought us into the fact that we were juggling different from the other sound systems back in the day, right? We were juggling quicker, faster. We had that hip hop feel to it, and we just applied that
Right.
to Clash, because Clash is just another party, just with dub plates. You know what I'm saying?
You said the word dub plate. So for our audience, right? Not everybody knows what a dub plate is. For
Yeah,
me, I love King Turbo because it's a dub plate. I'm a
right,
fan 100% because I think you
right.
guys have so much unique dub plates. But for those who don't know what a dub plate is, right? Kind of break it down. What's a dub plate?
A dubplate is identification for your sound. So an artist would, I guess, send praises to your sound, and in a competition, talk about how your sound is going to overthrow the other sound or DJ that you're playing against. So, for example, I don't know, Bitty McLean. We have a Bitty McLean dubplate that sings, about. I, I wish I can play something so they can understand what I'm talking about. But um, we have KRS-One singing "The Clash is over, the Clash is over, goodbye, man, the Clash is over." You know what I'm saying? So we have that kind of stuff.
Hey, hey.
Yeah, yeah. So we have Sugar Hill Gang, say the hip hop, hip, 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 you know, talking about what putting our name in the rap. So when if I'm playing in a competition, basically is who can rock the crowd the best that given time, that given night, and we've been successful.
Right, right.
Got a
So
question here from the audience.
before you go,
Go ahead.
I suggested that I want to hear the King Turbo anthem at one point. So you might have to line that up. But go
Right.
ahead, go ahead. Dr. Vibe.
No, sorry to interrupt. No problem. Frequency of Promotions, he says, I have a quick question for Slingshot. For a sound system to be taken serious in a sound clash, how many, quote, dub plates, unquote, would you say a sound system should have?
Again, we didn't have a lot of dubs in the early stages, and we were clashing Blackjack. We were clashing Black Reaction. We were clashing Heavyweight. These guys had a bag of dubs. I can tell you one thing: you can't play everything you have in one night. So strategically, it's just a matter of, and it doesn't matter if it's a big dub or a small dub. It's just however you introduce the song and how the crowd receives your introduction and the song that you play after that. When we were growing up, we had a lot of gimmicks, that we would play. It wasn't a dub play per se. So not having a lot of dubs back in the day, maybe we'd play some, I don't know, like 40 dubs in a dance. The juggling was a lot slower back then as well, right? So we can play a song out, 40, 50 dubs tops. Nowadays, people are playing songs for like 2 seconds, so it's like 100 dubs now you need in, in one clash, you know what I mean? So I would say to the person asking me the question is, it's really not the amount of dubs, just how you prepare your performance, what works for you. It can be a big tune, it can be a smaller tune. It's just how it fits into your performance.
I want to get, if you can share with our audience, dub plate culture and how has it evolved over the years?
So dub plates. Let me see if I can find one. Okay.
There you go. Listen,
Yeah,
this
that
man's
makes
doing the
sense.
work.
That makes sense. We were
Listen.
pushing and pushing. So while we get hopefully a dub plate, Minnie on cam says DJ Palsy P. He uses his nose to type on the keyboard and uses his left foot to operate the trackball. He lives with cerebral palsy, a disability. Discovering him showed me how we need to expand who is a DJ. All right. She also says that Idris Elba still DJs. What do you know? He still DJs. All right. All right. So, people, just to do a reset here, we are talking. He's gone to get a dub plate. We didn't ask him to, but he's gone to get one with Andrew Dillon, aka DJ Slingshot from the Mighty King Cobra Sound Crew on Black Men Can Talk.
Yes,
Paul,
yes.
so far, what have you picked up?
Man, yo, it's been a heavy conversation. It's taken me back, of course, right? But even just the fact that to recognize that, 2 points. One is about creativity, right? When you don't have much, and I think that really aligns a lot of times with some of the, like even how hip hop started out, right? Because we didn't have instruments, we had to be creative, right? How dub music started, we had to be creative a lot of times, right? So I think even learning that, though you didn't have a lot of money to buy a lot of sound and dub plates and all that kind of stuff, you had to be creative with what you had. And I think that lesson to me goes beyond just simply.
Someone has come back.
Listen, as long as he's not going to try to clash us on Black Men Talk.
No, I wouldn't.
You're not going to clash us tonight.
I know my place. I know my lane. All right.
All right, Dr. Vibe.
So my dub plates, the actual plate itself is stored inside the garage. So it's too much.
Okay, no problem. It's all good.
Some dub plate sleeves, right?
Nice.
So this is from Black Scorpio, which is a sound system in Jamaica. It's also a record label. So we voiced dub plates at Black Scorpio. So Black Scorpio produced the song from Garnet Silk. I see Zion in a vision. Jah was there for me. That tune that with the Dennis Brown. Tell me why can't I be your friend for life? So that's Black Scorpio. Arrows, another classic dub plate place in Jamaica. This is where we voiced our first Born to Killer, Beanie Man, Capleton. So this is Arrow Studio. Dub Factory, Record Factory. The interesting thing about Record Factory is that they started in Canada.
Okay.
So if you went to Eglinton West to buy music, you would stop off at Record Factory, and this is like in the 80s, late 80s. So they moved their establishment from Eglinton West, and they situated their business in Jamaica. So they were a major dub cutting versus studio place.
Okay.
And that's it, bro.
Well, thank you. This is all good. Let me ask, how has sound system culture changed?
Hold on. Sorry. Let me just answer your question because
okay.
So the dub plate culture in the music business. Okay, so it started out with sounds like Sir Coxsey from Studio One, Duke Reed, the Trojan, and they used to use dub plates to test out their music. When they started recording music back in the late 50s, early 60s as producers, they would take that and bring it to the dance hall and play it to see the reaction of the crowd. If the crowd liked it, then they would press from soft, because it's dub plate's considered soft copy, so it's usually like a mastered disc, and they would press that and put it into in for selling, right? So that's what dub plates originally were used for. So then you started to have competitions, ego and testosterone. You started to have a lot of competitions with these sounds. They started to create songs with local artists specifically for their sound system. So John Holt made the first dub plate for Treasure Isle, calling out Duke Reed, on the beach. So, and again, ego, if one hears an artist saying, oh, this person is great, I'm going to say, no. I got to get an artist to do the same thing. And so that's how it happened, and they started to use dub. It was acetate plate, but then they started to create instrumentals with a unique mix. So you hear dub, the word dub was derived based on the fact that they took out the vocals and they mixed the instruments differently. So you would have, you know, Kilimanjaro. You would have what's the guy's name, man? I can't believe I forgot. King Tough and all these other guys that used to create dubs specifically for their sound systems. And competition is competition. You want to be the number one, so people are out trying to outdo each other. Fast forward to the 80s, they started to employ more artists on dub plate, like Rory Stonelove kind of popularized the fact of a lot of dubs versus playing a couple of dubs and then carry on. Rory kind of brought in the a lot of dubs situation. He just, every new song that was out there, he had it on dub. So you would have Inner City, Gemini, Bodyguard, Stereo One, all these other sounds seeing this happen, so they just follow suit, and that's how it progressed.
Wow.
And what impact has technology had on all of this?
Technology has always been important, man. Always important. The thing is, with Jamaican music on a whole, they didn't have a lot to work with, right? They didn't have as much technology as the American counterpart. They use secondhand equipment. So the innovation of how they created the sound is very important, because they did a lot of things that people are doing now that a lot of people don't realize it came from the Jamaican culture, like EDM. The whole mixing of EDM is dub, right?
Facts.
It's a technique of dub. So when you hear it reverbing out or echoing out, that's a dub technique, right? And EDM is from Europe, and we all know how Europe embraced the reggae music from the 60s and 70s, from ska straight up to rocksteady, to all of that, to the dub. You know, you have everything that you hear from EDM comes from reggae music, dub. You know, so they created these elements that was unique to the Jamaican culture. It went out in the world and it's been incorporated. Technology is very important as well, because you want to be ahead of the game. So for us, from my experience, we started to use laptop 2020, 2002, 2003. We started to use computer technology. At that point, everyone was still on CDs. If you look at the clash between us and Mighty Crown and King Addies, you will see Mighty Crown and King Addies using CD pouches, CDs. And our side, we were using laptop.
Wow.
So they weren't into that yet. Specs he kept on saying, Slingshot, you need to get into Serato. This is a new thing. It's going to take over the place. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, Specs, okay. So this is the first person I know with it. So if you look at the tag team clash back in 2006, 2007, you'll see Mighty Crown with CD pouches, and we're using Serato.
Wow. So talking about that, right? I know recently you guys won World Clash, maybe even back to back, but I know you guys have won World Clash. So talking about that, what and being someone who's traveled around the world, obviously, so what impact have you seen that sound culture has had worldwide in places like Japan, Europe, even Africa? Like, what kind of influence do you see? You know,
the Jamaican culture,
yes,
is huge around the world. Traveling to different parts of the world, I saw it with my own eyes. You know, we were in Japan. We were playing in Osaka, and I was playing, and I was just about to get off. I was like maybe one more song, and someone came up to the DJ booth and he said, "Yo," you know, trying to speak Jamaican. He's like, "Yo, play the bujo, play the Buju calling out the areas. And so we have a Buju Bantando calling out areas here in Toronto.
Right.
I'm like, you guys know that song? He's like, yeah, yeah. Although the areas didn't call, it didn't say Osaka, it didn't say Tokyo, it didn't say Yokohama,
Right.
but they wanted to hear our Buju dub calling out Jane and Finch and Malvern. And you know what I'm saying? So I'm like,
yeah.
you know, and when we were in Japan, someone was asking, do you know Specs the boss? And I'm like, yes. You know, so the Jamaican culture, besides King Turbo and all that, the Jamaican culture has a big impact and influence worldwide. Music, if you listen to Afrobeats, a lot of a lot of music originated from Africa, the drummings and all that. In the Rastaman music, the culture is African, right? Let's establish that. So, but the Jamaican spice and seasoning, right, was brought back to Africa, to all the countries in that continent, right? And here comes the birth of reggae music in the African countries, right? Japan, the same thing. Like the culture, they study our culture, and it's crazy because we that grew up in the culture, we don't study it as hard as these people because they didn't grow up with that.
Right.
So it's more like, let me read up on everything. Let me study everything, and they can tell you the date of this, when this was voiced, where was it, you know. And so I'm proud to say that, you know, our culture has we little bit, but we tell our, you know.
Ah, there we go.
But even with that, kind of following up,
Yeah.
kind of following up, it makes me wonder. And I'm gonna say, you know, somebody who's a fan, but also somebody's, you know, Jamaican culture. What is a thin line between appreciation and cultural appropriation? Right. So, you know, what is that? Because again, you see a lot of these Japanese guys out there speaking Jamaican, right? And I know it's an appreciation for the culture, like you said, right? We laugh about it, but is there, you know, where's that thin line for yourself as somebody who's a foundation person, right? And someone who's also from, you know, Jamaican culture.
Gotta plug in my phone, bro. Hmm. We cannot discourage people from appreciating the music. You know, if it's good music, if it's the culture is great, if you enjoy that experience, by all means, you know, we invite you to do so.
Right.
Think the difference is when someone that is not part of the culture starts to utilize the people and the culture to make revenue, not reinvesting that some of that revenue, because business is business. If your business is this, then I saw it go. If your business is something else, but if you're not reinvesting in the culture that you're making your money from,
Right.
I think that's where I have the problem.
Right. So not reinvesting back into,
Right.
you know, the culture, the community. Yeah, good point.
And reinvesting means, you know, it can mean different things. It can mean going into the community. I'm not talking about just giving out turkeys and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I'm talking about put some money into some for people to go to college, to university. I'm talking about, you know, establishing through, you know, some sort of commerce, encourage other businesses, you know, that sort of thing, you know, not fish fry and all that kind of stuff. Free chicken.
I hear you.
I want just to catch up on some comments here. Minion Camp says Japan dance hall scene is so elevated.
Mm-hmm.
And she also says there's a documentary on the Japan dance hall scene. I think Vice magazine did it. And she also says truth and reconciliation is needed in all cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Let me And there's another question, but I'm going to ask, so sound systems have historically been a voice for the voiceless. How has King Turbo used its platform to represent and uplift the community?
Well, when I first started in the DJing business, all I wanted to do was just play music and be out there like a Stone Love or a Silverhawk. That was the whole gist of it. But as we progressed and we went through our journey, I started to speak with people, and they would come up and say, "Oh, you guys played this song, which made me feel better. I was going through a certain situation, and I heard when you guys play." So it got me thinking. It's a lot more than just playing music. And to the DJs that all they want to do is play music and that's it, that's fine too. But for me, I realized what we were doing had a great impact within our community. So I started to do like clothing drives. I volunteered with the Flemington Park Community Center. We did clothing drives with them. I've been to different high schools to talk to the youths about content and music and how they market, how the multinationals and corporations market certain products to you, and you don't know, all sorts of things. I've been to the Boys and Girls Club. I've done a lot of volunteer work. So I did a symposium at UFT in regards to music and sound waves and how scientifically that works. Anyone that comes up to me and want to have a conversation, I have a conversation with them, because when I was growing up, there were elders that took time out to speak with me. They could have said, "My youth, move up," or whatever. They could have had a bad experience, right? But they extended their knowledge, so therefore we have to extend our knowledge as well. And I feel that as King Turbo, it's a lot more than just playing music. We're part of the whole culture of Canada. So if we can educate people, lend some words of wisdom, I'm all for it. I'm actually writing a book. I'm working with, I don't know if I can say his name, but anyways, professor at UFT. So he's helping me put my book together. We're also doing a documentary. I'm trying to put a documentary together about sound system culture in Canada. So I've been speaking to some people, different parts, different provinces, because not only Ontario, Nova Scotia, Manitoba, Quebec, the West Coast and so forth. So we got to document our information, because as the person said, they have a documentary in Japan, they have a documentary in England, they have a documentary in Jamaica, America. The only documentary I really know about reggae music here, well, they had one back in 1979, Summer in the City. And that was a documentary with Jackie Mitu, Willie Williams, and what's his name? Errol Brown. I forget his name. But anyways, it was a song, Rockin' Universally. And then they kind of traveled and followed these artists as they were creating this song, and my dad used to play the song back in the 70s. So I was like, what? I was intrigued to see it. There was an actual documentary. And just recently, CBC had a documentary with Leroy Sibbles, Nana McLean, and Johnny Osbourne and some other artists. But I think our story needs to be told. A lot of the artists from Jamaica moved to Canada, and we didn't even know they were here. King Jammys used to live here in the 70s, and then he went back to Jamaica and formed the King Jammys studio. And King Jammys, African Star, who put out tour. Capleton was Capleton's manager, lived here. Supercat, first time travel outside of Jamaica was Canada. Tenasa was here. You know what I mean? So Ernie Smith. Johnny Osbourne. So we definitely need to put that together. But we have a role, and that's what I feel that I'm doing right now while I'm here. You know, is to try to help the community and help our culture.
Love it,
Nice.
love it. Welcome, Kofi. How you doing, Kofi Morris? Are you with us? You're looking like you're in a royal palace in the back.
I'm blessed, family. Good to see. Good to connect. I've been listening in remotely, and funny enough, no Slingshot would know me as a different name before I even was Kofi. Still, he probably can recognize just one, because we used to produce for us back in at Brimley and Shepherd at RPS.
Yeah. Wow, you said Leon Shepherd. Okay.
Yep. The studio at Brilliant Shepherd. I remember that.
Yeah.
So let me ask you another conversation piece. What role do you think sound systems play in preserving and promoting Caribbean culture outside of the Caribbean?
Today is not the sound system as it is today is not the same as it was before. People do not depend on sound system culture as they did back in the day, right? The artists that you see as legends now came up through the sound system culture. They honed their skills DJing on sound system live. So when it was time to go in the studio, they were good to go. Plus, sound systems were like quality control. You know, nowadays there's so many different media outlets and platforms a person can upload their song in or on and then buy views or whatever the case. They have 1 million views, but they're singing off key, right? No, there's a lack of quality control now. A lot of the songs are great. I'm not knocking, but there's songs that I've heard. I'm like, oh my gosh, man. There's no Bobby Digital or King Jammies to say, my youth, you're singing flat here or you're singing off key here. Just do this way or this way. Or the subject matter that you're singing, not gonna make it still. You know what I mean? There's nothing like that. Everyone now is like, they have 1 million views, so you can't tell them nothing. Right? And then there are people around them, they call them dada or father or so if they say, yo, this song good, my youth, yes dada, yes dada. God, they want to continue to be part of the inner circle.
Right.
Back in the day, you used to have to audition for Studio One. On Sundays, you audition for, and if you didn't sound right, they tell you to come back. Right. And then if you sound good, they would record you and then they'll play it on their sound system. And then if it does good on their sound system, then they would press the song and then your career took off from there. So sound system culture now, sound system it plays a different role than it did back in the day, is what I'm saying.
So some of the younger DJs that are out there now, I mean, I'm going to assume, and you can tell me if I'm not right, but I would assume that, as somebody who has been in the game for a minute, yourself and King Turbo, that as you mentioned, before, you've more risen to a more, let's say, elder status comparison to some of these younger DJs. You talked about some of the mentoring that you've done, in terms of, the Canadian culture of DJs, right? Like, are there folks that you're seeing that might be, carrying the torch, or that you can maybe want to highlight and say, yeah, these young guys are coming up and, they understand it, or for people to kind of look out. Do you see that continuity? Because you talked about the difference, but are there any people that, are continuing in the vein of, really honing their craft, not paying for views, as they say, and stuff like that? Like, people like, you might want to give a little more respect to, because you see that they're honoring the culture.
Yeah, there's a few DJs out there that I see doing their thing, and a lot of DJs are doing their thing, but the longevity, do they have what it takes to succeed more than a couple years or whatever the case is? Obviously, along with talent, you have to have the right marketing team at this point to market you on social media to make you look a certain way. But as for the skills,
Right.
Chippy Dunn, I like what he's doing. His father is Alan Ladd from military.
Okay.
So he's grown up in the culture, right? It's important that you study the culture.
Mm.
A lot of people, and this goes for anything that you do in life. If you're going to do something, if you're going to be a mechanic, you need to study being a mechanic. If you're going to be a doctor, so forth and so forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's important to study the culture. I mean, I used to go to the library and just read. Any book about reggae music, any book about music. I used to read about rock and roll. Who's Bill Haley? Who's Cream? Who's Def Leppard? And I read up on studying all these things because that's what it's all about. So Joshua Lucas is another DJ. He used to come down to the radio station with his mom or dad because he was young, like 10, 11 years old, and he's not playing the new music. He's playing like Mighty Diamonds, Dennis Brown, Burning Spear, and that kind of thing. That was what he was playing at that age. Furthermore, he's mentoring other children in his church with, playing keyboards and drums and, so I'm seeing that and I'm like, yes, this is good.
Yeah, it's good to see that. It's good to see that.
And now he used to ask to come to our dances and I'll come with my parents and I just want to play, and I'm like, boy, Josh, liquor and we can't do that. And now he's grown into a young man that is very positive. He does multiple things, and most importantly, he studied the culture because you got to know where we're coming from in order to know where to go, right? So that's important to me. Anyone can mix two songs, but you got to understand the whole thing in order to have that longevity and so
yeah, for sure.
Some comments here again. Mignon Cam, my mom being a reggae artist, I got to see the culture firsthand before the age of 12. Seeing Japan having a documentary was my time of disability, reduced my ability to enjoy dance hall in person. Beanie Man started as a kid. He did. He absolutely did. Kofi Morris, any comments, questions?
Yeah, my question actually has to do with the radio and the connection to Morning Ride and kind of how that came about and how that also kind of propelled or supported the journey of King Turbo as a sound.
Okay, well, our first experience bear in mind, enough respect to David Kingston, Ron Nelson, Dave Ahmad. I grew up on community radio, right? I grew up on that. That was my oxygen, right? So fast forward now, David Kingston decided to leave 88.1 CIUT. So they gave the position to Ron Nelson. To that Friday night slot. At that point, Ron was more known for hip hop, right? He had his Fantastic Voyage program. He did his hip hop stuff. So Ron called us to be his DJs at the early stages of his Reggae Mania. So if there's any cassettes out there, you would hear us. We're the ones playing the music because we were the young youth back then time there. You know what I mean? So we were playing Reggae Mania, and then Ron eventually started to purchase more reggae music, and he started to do it himself with Lisa, right? So that was our first experience with radio. We understood from an early set that radio is very important within promoting the culture. The DJs that we grew up with may not have seen radio as the same thing because at that point, radio DJs were radio DJs and dancehall DJs were dancehall DJs. It never really was a mix, right? You never heard a dancehall DJ become a radio DJ in Canada or in Ontario, at least, right? So we were asked to be part of the Side 3 show, which was a night program. So it was like the graveyard. We played from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. So it was hip hop mainly. So it was a full 80% hip hop show. and we played some of the reggae. Fast forward, and then the director from CIUT asked us if we wanted to do a morning show. At first, we didn't want to do it because we're dancehall, we're in the basement, we're in the clubs, you know. Who's gonna listen to us with our, you know, playing during the morning? People going to work, sipping their tea and coffee and all these things. Like, are we gonna be able to fit? Seeing, so we gave it a go, and we realized through the radio, we were able to show our personality, who we really are, because a lot of people hear about King Turbo and Malvern and say, yo, why I don't want to go to one of those King Turbo dances, you know, I hear they shoot them up, or what kind of foolishness or whatever they're hearing, you know, the stereotypical view. But when you heard us on the radio and see how we interacted, how we laughed, how we tell jokes, and it kind of opened up a lot of people's eyes that may have not given us a chance in terms of dancehall sound system, because we were dancehall, grimy, you know. That also gave us the opportunity to introduce artists like Blessed. Blessed used to come to my house all the time. Sometimes that, you know, I'm in my parents' basement. I have a studio, you know. So me, Blessed, and Nkrumah, Toba Chang, them on in my parents' house, knocking out music. You know, I'm trying to produce. I'm getting into the production thing now. So when Blessed did the song Love, he gave me a CD. At them time, Specs moved to Flow, and I held down the morning ride. So Blessed gave me a CD called that relationship we had, and on the CD was 3 tracks, and he wanted me to promote one of the songs. And I'm like, I'm listening to the song. I'm like, yo, this song that I'm hearing is a song you should promote. And it didn't have a name, so I gave it to Specs, and I said, Specs, play this on Flow. What's the name of the song? Call it Love. You know what I'm saying? Call it Love.
There you go.
Yeah, so Specs played it on Flow, and then Belial heard the song and said he's gonna sue if they don't take it off the rhythm, right? And so then Spragga Roots came in with Jazzwad, and they rebuilt the rhythm, and that's why you have the other version of it now, right? But that was one aspect of the radio. Also, with the radio, it allowed us to reach out to different organizations that may have not listened to us previously. From the radio, I was able to go and speak to the students at different schools. I was able to go to the Boys and Girls Club. I was able to do clothing drives, different things inside the community that maybe I would not have had the support if we didn't have the radio station. So it's very important. The radio has been very important to us, for us. You know, I wouldn't have imagined the positive outlet that we had from that time. You know what I mean? So it was definitely important.
All right. Mignon Camp says now they play dancehall reggae in the McDonald's and grocery stores.
I want to tell you something. When we started to play, the first time we played reggae in downtown Toronto as a dancehall song, this was like Heavens. It was a Heavens nightclub, and the host was Monica Diol.
Oh wow!
The of the club came to us and said, "I want you guys to play good reggae music. Play One Love and Red Red Wine." So me and Ricky looked at each other and we're like, so as soon as we turn on, straight dancehall. You know, the thing was, all our Scarborough peeps, they weren't used to going downtown Toronto to party, so they all came. And them time there, when you're buying a beer in a Scarborough dance, it's $5. Downtown beer was like $2 and something. So these people were buying. They bought out the whole bar. So the owner called us back and said, "Yo, you know, you guys come on
back. What do you now?"
So that started our journey as a reggae song downtown. And then at that time, there wasn't dancehall songs playing downtown like that. So we used to get a fight. Oh, the man them sell out, the man them a play downtown and reggae, and you know, reggae songs not supposed to play downtown. But look now, you know, look in the early 2000s, everybody's downtown. You get what I'm saying? So it's something that it's funny now to me, but it was a fight back then as being in the forefront, you know?
Right.
And I don't know how much time you have, because I know you're a busy young man, so I don't want to take up any of your time. If you have more time, I have more things. I have more.
Listen, yo, you just like the fact you called him a young man. That's not he's good with that.
Okay, all right, all right. I have more things to ask about. And gentlemen, do you have other things? I've got a few more things I want to ask, and there's some questions in the chat too.
For sure. I mean, we can go to the questions in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to mix, but so let me ask: can you remember a memorable clash and share? What was one? You've had many, but is there one just off the top of your head was a memorable clash?
When we clashed Black Cat, first time we clashed Black Cat was memorable because at that point, the Canadian sounds were. It's crazy to think about it now, because if you weren't around when things were different, you wouldn't be able to appreciate it now. You know what I mean? But Canadian sounds were warm-up sounds. That's what they used us for. So when a sound came from Jamaica, England, the States, or whatever, we were the warm-up sounds. The big song was the big song, the song from Jamaica and East, right? So Black Cat was clashing, and they were killing everything in Jamaica. And Panta's first time coming up, or second time coming up to Canada, and they had us as the warm-up song, us and some other guy. So at that point, I think we were confident enough, even though we didn't have as much dubs as Black Cat, to give him a run for his money. We felt that it was important to break this stigma of being a warm-up sound, both in the eyes of the public and within every DJ that might hear this, what we're just about to do. So we decided to ambush Panta, right? So we ambushed Panta, and the crowd was shocked, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening, because it never happened before. If there was a clash, it was a Canadian song versus a Canadian song. That's how it was. How dare you draw on a sound from Jamaica, you know? So we ambushed Panta and we boxed him up. He came back on and he said what he said. We came back on and we tear him up. So that created conversation. The very next Friday on Reggae Mania, the conversation was, oh, it was King Turbo it was just luck. They ambushed Panta. If it was a clash from 8 o'clock to 8 o'clock, they would have lost. You know, the Canadian sounds can't do this and they can't do it. So what happened was, then they set up a second clash with us. This time, the first one was a dance. We just ambushed it because we wanted to prove a point that Canadian sounds were just as good as these sounds coming from. We should get paid as much as these other guys because we're just as good. We carried. That was the point, right? So the second one was an actual clash. So it was Black Cat, King Turbo, Gemini sound from Jamaica, and Love Child. Black Cat, Gemini, and Love Child played on one song. We played on the other song, and we slapped them, beat them up, right? as a Canadian young song, and we didn't have as many dubs, right, but we kind of figured out how do you utilize what you have. You work with what you have.
Good point.
Right? I wish I had Tennessee. I don't have Tennessee. So when these guys are playing Tennessee on me, how am I going to counteract that? Yeah. Right? So, and we beat them. And so therefore, that created this whole thing within the sound system diaspora in Canada, saying, if Turbo did it, we're better than Turbo. We can do the same thing, you know, right. Or, oh my gosh, you know, this inspired me to try to, you know, however you saw it, it was a change in the whole situation at that point. So you found that after that, you had like a Super Fresh, you had like a Black Reaction, you had those sounds now that were clashing the Addies, they were clashing Kilimanjaro, they were, you know what I mean? So, but before that, that wasn't happening.
Right. Right. Now, the question we have here, what is the importance of Black men having a voice in current times in the areas of music, entertainment, and culture? What do you think the importance is?
Having a voice is very, very important to me, in terms of a Black man in the culture, because a lot of times our people are misinterpreted, things are said about us, and people have this stigma, right? And a lot of our people contribute to that as well because they don't know better, right? They're there for the money, they're there to get what they're getting, and maybe ignorant in that sense. But there needs to be positive messaging from people that people can look up to. You know what I mean? It has to be positive messaging. You cannot change everybody, but if you can change a few people, it's and they change people, that's what it's about. We need to have that equal balance. So I like to see when Black men speak up, when they're positive. You don't need to be a sport you don't need to be an athlete, you don't need to be an actor, you don't need to be a musician, an artist, just a positive Black man in the media, speaking up and giving common sense and knowledge to things that are not true. You know what I mean? It needs the balance, so it's very important. We need
adding to that note, as a father, how has being a father influenced you as a DJ? As it shifted anything? Do you still play the hard music, or like, even being a father, has that influenced your role, in terms of being a DJ?
I've always been someone that I've never been that type of I got to play the raw music, in the dancehall, but I've never been that type of person where, love the what they call it, the pasa pasa. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was never that person, you know what I mean? But having my daughter, all I'm thinking about is how is she going to see me if she Googles my name? I don't want her to see me cussing out somebody or carry on a way. I want her to see me. And a lot of times where I might see a post or somebody might say something, it's very easy for me to retaliate because I can. But I always think of her, right? What example am I setting as an individual? So it's harder for me to hold my tongue, but it's necessary for me to hold my tongue, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I hear you.
Music, I expose all sorts of music, to her. We play everything. I don't play the raw stuff. I don't play Vibes Cartel or that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It's like the Dennis Brown, the Bob Marley, and then we'll go up to the Gladys Knights and the Pips. Then we'll do some 112. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's very important as a role model for my daughter, man.
All right. Question here from Frequency Event Promotions. What are a couple or a few reggae artists you'd like to work with if given the opportunity to?
Very interesting. I'd say Bitty McLean. I like his flavor. So I would definitely work with Bitty. I would also put it's a very good question, man. I would like to work with Agent Sasko. He's he's a dynamic individual. He's not your typical dancehall artist. Very intelligent, knowledgeable. So I think I would definitely work with him. Tanya Mullings from here, I'd work with her. Julie Blacks, I'd work with. I did a remix for Julie Blacks when we had our studio. It was Jazzwad and myself. So what happened was we did the remix for Julie. So Jazzwad is a big time producer in dancehall. He created the rhythm, the reggae version of Natural African Black Woman. He created that. He created a lot of the dancehall rhythms that you know. He was in Canada, and so we linked up, and he came by the studio, and we knocked out the remix for Julie Blacks. So, and because Universal had asked us to do it. So we did the remix, we submitted it to Universal, and they're like, oh man, yeah, this is great. You know, we're gonna put it out. Blah. So what happened was we were so excited. So I gave the track to Chief, from Baby Blue. He had his radio program. I gave the track to Specs for rhythm track, not realizing that I shouldn't have done that because they have their marketing and what they want to do in order to get that out, right? And having it play on the radio and play all over the place before they even was the wrong move.
Wow.
So it never came out, So I definitely want to work with Julie Blacks in regards to, because she's very a talented individual.
Okay. Also, Frequency asks, with all King Turbo's success in the reggae dancehall scenery, is there anything else you'd like your sound system to resume or start from scratch?
Frequency, what's going on, bro? Man, we've done a lot, man. I don't want to do everything.
Yeah.
We do what we did.
Right.
It's time for the younger youths to do what they do. We stick in our lane, stay in our lane. What we've accomplished. For me, it's just now about documentation. Like I said, the book, the documentary, try to do some artist development, that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm good.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So the younger self, would you ever go? If you had a chance to go back, is there anything that you would change about your journey? As a DJ and an icon.
My younger self. Yeah, I would have contracted a lot of things. You do it. You hear the story over and over again. A young artist or whomever is getting into the business, and they're just happy to be there, and people recognize them, and the business aspect of it is not something that they're educated in.
Right.
So I would say be more educated in the business aspect of it. Like, I mean, the logo and all that kind of stuff kind of created that back in the day, marketing and so forth. But I would have get a lot of contracts signed.
Do you think sound system culture can go beyond its traditional roots, or does it need to stay rooted in reggae and dancehall to maintain its identity?
An aspect of the sound system culture will always remain in the dancehall or the reggae music because that's where it came from. That's the birth. You can't leave that. That's the groundation. But I believe that the elements, just like EDM, as I mentioned before, the elements of sound culture can transcend across the globe. And that would make the whole thing where it's the conception more powerful, right? People would just need to acknowledge or understand where it came from, because I'm sure you talk to a lot of these EDM DJs and they would have no idea that what they're doing is from Jamaica, So it's the education and give the flowers where you're supposed to give the flowers. You know what I mean? I guess that's the appropriation that everyone's talking about. But I think the template can be applied to different genres.
Okay. What's one thing you wish more people understood about sound system culture and its importance?
I think people should understand now that sound system is part of the nucleus of Jamaican culture. It's very important, as I mentioned before, the social aspect of things. It's rooted in that, and so nowadays there's a lot of single DJs, like DJ this, DJ that, and they're not part of a system per se. They're not part of a group. They're just individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though they might be in the individual, they still should incorporate the sound system mentality, employ people. Like, sound system is not just the sound system, it's the peanut man, the people were doing the chicken outside. It's the people that you have as security. It's the people that are selling candy. It's you're employing. It's a business employing a whole bunch of people. You know what I mean? And also giving a message. So,
like an ecosystem.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because I think about it, and we always know the relationship between hip hop and reggae or dancehall. But in hip hop, we know back in the day, you had to have the MC and you had to have the DJ. You had to have
Right.
the dance. You had to have the dancers. When we used to break dance, we used to clash crews, not
Right.
individuals. You know what I mean? So even when you see Olympic breakdancing, you're like one man against one man or one woman against one woman. Nah, it was area, it was crews.
Right,
Dow,
right,
Chester. It goes down the line, right?
right.
Brattletown. We used to battle guys from different areas. So it's interesting, because I think that almost reflects a value system of being more, I guess, about self and I versus being about community.
Right.
Right. So it's a good insight you had mentioned that. The other thing I wanted to ask about, and I know, well, I'm hoping that it's not it's prevalent before, but you mentioned when you were going to go on the radio that a lot of people had certain stereotypes about violence and dance hall. So there's some caution around that, and I would say coming up, definitely some of that did happen. I'm not sure. I haven't been in that culture for a minute, but
Mhm.
is that something that still plagues the sound system culture, or has it shifted in any way when it comes to some of the violence that people might be concerned about?
Interestingly enough, that kind of stuff happens in the individual DJ dances. If you get what I'm saying,
Okay,
you go to a sound clash, people are not there to fight.
right.
They're there to listen to music.
Hmm.
You know, is when you find like these jiggy dances. That kind of weddy and pop your collar, and which is, if that's what you want to do, by all means, that's
Right.
what you want to do. But it's just the vanity dances. The dance is about vanity, and I'm wearing this, and I'm pouring $100 rum on somebody's head, and all this kind of foolishness.
Right.
You find fights happen there more.
Wow.
Gunshot, I'm not sure, because I don't really. Back in the day, yes, we used to run from enough gunshot, like beer gunshot. You know what I mean? I remember we played Lamport Stadium. This was like 2003, and it was supposed to be Morgan Heritage, Shaggy, Bounty Killer, and who else? But everyone was waiting for Bounty Killer, and Bounty Killer didn't perform. And you see when Specs and Ron Nelson came up on the stage and said, people waiting all day. It was hot. Water was $10. You know what I'm saying? $10, and the people were standing there from like 2 o'clock, waiting to hear.
Wow.
You see me? So this
Mm.
is like 7 o'clock, and I went in. I didn't see Bounty Killer, so I went inside the dressing room area and so I go on. I saw Bounty Killers like cussing the promoter, and I was like, John, will stop. So I went to Specs, and I'm like, Specs, Bounty Killer is not performing, bro. Let's pack up and leave.
And leave.
Specs was like, no, it's gonna be okay. We're just gonna tell the people, and they're gonna. I'm like, Specs, let's go, bro, because I knew what was gonna come. See, when Specs and while Specs and Ron was going to go on the stage, they got the word that Bounty Killer's not performing. They're going on stage. Me, I'm telling Ricky, I'm like, yo, let's pack up. I'm packing up the stuff because I knew what was going to happen. And you see from the man, them say, yo, people, Bounty Killer, that they couldn't even finish their sentence. This is the most
Wow.
You know, you see those movies, the medieval movies with the archers or the arrows that fly.
The archers going up.
And I just took up the records, and records. People are used to laptop now, but when you had crates of records, they were heavy, right? I don't know. We found the strength by this. Took the record and the record crates and throw them over the fence. Just wrap over the fence, bro. Enough times we had to hop and duck and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
I can laugh about it now, because we're here to talk about it.
Right.
You know?
Right. True.
But
True.
the element of violence in dancehall is just a reflection of what's happening in our community. Period. And it goes beyond dancehall. Right? It goes beyond what we play in the dancehall, or it might contribute depending on what type of DJ and what type of music. Nowadays, they're playing a lot of this chopper music and this gangster music, and all this music that the messaging is not good. I'm listening to some of these songs. I'm like, yo, what is this? Like back in the day, if there was metaphors,
Yes.
If you're talking about something, I want to put my cheese into your bread, and you knew what was happening. I want to lay on my cheese. Want to lay on your bread or whatever. You knew what was happening. You know what I mean?
Right.
Nowadays, if they just tell you, this is what it is.
Yeah. This is exactly.
Where's the creativity? And I have to fault the artists, but they don't understand that there's a bigger thing happening. It is these corporations that own these record labels, that also own jails, that need workers. They do not need a Tupac. They do not need a Public Enemy anymore. Those were threats. Right? They were changing how our people thought, right? All these change. No, NWA or 911 is a joke. Fight the pop. No, we can't have that. We like to be where we are. So these independent labels got bought out by these corporations.
Yep.
And so the messaging now is, okay, if an artist makes 5 songs, 2 of the songs might be a gun song. 3 of the songs might be talking about let's unite and be strong as Black people. Guess what? The label is going to say, we need these 2 songs talking about drinking, shooting, and how much money you have. That's what we're going to, and then that's it. You get what I'm saying? And the artists just want to make money. They coming out from whatever situation they're coming out of, and now they're getting a little bit of money. They're not realizing, or they don't care that what they're doing is affecting the youth that are looking up to them, and help ushering them into the system that these corporations also own.
There's a relationship, like you said. There's a relationship.
Right.
All right. So, what were you saying, Dr. Vi? About 5 more minutes, or how?
I got 1 or 2 quick more things.
All right.
Want to ask you, was there a moment in your career you said to yourself, "This is why I do what I do"?
Oh yeah. Going to the schools, speaking to the students, being invited to go. We were invited to go to the police college one point, and they had students from different schools, and we were mentoring them in circles. It started off with music, just want to be a DJ, but I understood from an early standpoint that it was more important than just playing music. Music is a vehicle and allows us to connect with people. Yes, but from you connect with people, what else can you do? I definitely want to, you know, when it's my time, I want to be remembered as someone that's helped people. You know what I mean? Not just play records. So when we started to speak to the students, I thought, okay, this is what it is.
I guess my final conversation is, if you could give one message to your fans and supporters, what would it be?
Thank you. Thank you for being with us for 35 years. There's a lot of things that one can do with their time. The fact that we are still here, you know, I was speaking to someone the other day saying, I'm playing with these young cats and they want me to hop around the stage like a frog, like I'm 21. You know what I mean? But the whole point is that they still want to hear us.
Yeah.
And we're still part of people's growing up, you know, part of that whole soundtrack of people's lives. And we could have easily faded away like a lot of other sound system DJs. Right. And we appreciate, without the people, we're nothing. And I always appreciate that. I don't take that for granted. Not at all.
Nice.
Thank you.
You got the title of your documentary, Soundtrack of People's Lives. There you go.
Oh my goodness.
I'll jump in there, Dr. Vibe. You know, we do something, myself and Paul, we do a lot of work in rites of passage with young people. And one of the things that in audio that's often explored is this question, what makes you so strong? So I was thinking, as you're talking about, you know, Turbo and Turbo's history, what would you say? What makes King Turbo so strong? Why is King Turbo the sound that people still turn to, still want to hear from, the young people still want to hear from?
I think go ahead.
What do you think is like, what is that secret sauce or ingredient amongst the founders, you being one of the founders, that made and has made King Turbo such that sound to look to?
I think the fact that we put in the work, and it wasn't regular. Like I said, every day I used to practice. So it's just like riding a bike. You know what I mean? After a while, I don't practice every day anyway. I don't have time for that. You know what I mean? But it's like, it's just something that's natural at this point. And people can look at our story and realize they can apply or relate to our story. It's not a matter of us being King Turbo and we're out here on this big stage and, you know, you're looking up at us and we're looking down. No. If you look at our story, we've come from a place where people thought, you know, nothing can work that way. You know what I mean? We've the naysayers, we've had doors slam in our faces. We've gone through hardships. You know, we've gone through so many bad things or negative things that made us who we are now, stronger. Right. It's just life. You know, you can either use the negativity and the adversity and have it bring you down, make you weaker, or it can make you stronger. You know, a lot of doors slammed, a lot of door closes. People don't know about that kind of stuff. They only see the door opening. They only see us on world-class stage. They don't know what it took. And a lot of people can relate because we had a lot of valleys before we got to the hills, man.
Give thanks. We salute you, my brother. We salute the work that's being done and all of that work that you put in to this point.
Well, this has been a great conversation. And thank you for giving us extra time, because we usually don't go this long, but I appreciate you giving us grace and giving us space.
Yeah, no problem, man. When Paul linked me, I was like, could I say that?
Yeah. It's all good. You know it goes, man. All good.
It's all good. I was like, yeah, man, it's all good, because I know Paul from high school days, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? So we grew up together. Yeah. You know, so it's all good, man. Anything I can do while I can do it, I will do it.
Well, reciprocal back from all of us, Paul and us Sue. Right back at you. If anyone wants to find out more about King Tober Sound, there's the Instagram handle, and I've put it in the comment section on most of the platforms where people are watching this. As always, my brother, don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourself grace, and happy Kwanzaa.
So hold on there. I said I was going to play a dub, right?
Go ahead.
Do you have it?
All right.
Let me just end off with a dub.
Please do. That's the only way it can properly end.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn it up to see if let me know. Hold on there.
Okay, no problem.
For those listening, tomorrow morning is the beat. 6 a.m. CIUT.
Louder. We need more volume.
We'll send it on the on the remix.
Okay.
So there you have it, original King Turbo Sound dub. Hey, listen, how many podcasts that have like dub plates being played?
Yeah, come on. We that's how we do what we do. We get the dub plates on.
Slingshot. We're making a request. We want a Black Men Can Talk dub plates.
Oh, that would be good.
I can do that. You just let me know who you.
Okay, let's talk offline because we'd love a dub plate intro, an outro. Yeah. All right, Paul, make it happen with him.
All right.
Slingshot, blessings, and keep the faith. Thank you so much.
Hello, brethren.
All right, gentlemen. Another one done. What do you take from this conversation?
Powerful. Once again, having the two words, I think two words that he said, is hard work, right? It was putting the work in. It was the study.
Doing the reps.
Talk about. You mean, man, say, go to the library and study. These are the things that we don't hear so much these days, right? In regards to people who have become successful. They talk about the hits in the Instagrams and the Facebook, the social media, but to say, what is the work being done behind the scenes? You're picking up book to read and study the craft. People talk about putting in your 10,000 hours, right? Being able to master any craft. They say it takes 10,000 hours. Malcolm Gladwell, Canadian author. So that's one of the things I'm taking from this conversation. And the wisdom that was spoken comes from, from a place of experience,
evaluated experience. Yeah.
100%.
Sadat?
Yeah, man. Well, I'm taking away that, that definitely, there's more than just being a DJ. And as you said, he doesn't want to just be remembered for the music, but, the positive impact that he has giving back to the future generation. So I'm definitely taking that piece and, imploring my brothers and sisters out there to run with that as well. Like really, it's, we're here, we have a job, we do whatever, but, how will we be remembered and how do we want to be remembered?
Yeah. For myself, how they, especially in the early days, had little and made a lot from it. Mm-hmm. They didn't wait for perfection. They took what they had and they ran with it. And I think a lot of people, from my lens, hey, if you got 60% and all that's you run with your 60%. Sure. Don't wait for perfection, because will it ever happen? There may be there may be perfect moments, but it's never always perfect. So I love how he just said, we didn't have a lot, but we still went and won those clashes. We didn't have what they had, but we found a way.
There you go.
Being resourceful, being very, very resourceful. I think that's a really huge message amongst all the ones that were shared tonight, and great conversation. Frequency Event Promotion says, yes, great show, gentlemen. Thank you. You helped make it a great show. As always, just as we start ending it off, we want to say what the theme of the show is. Black Men Can Talk, a show where Black Canadian men come together to have real unfiltered conversations about life, culture, and community. We had all that tonight.
Okay.
We had all of it tonight. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. If you choose to, share this conversation out. It's a great one. Doesn't happen in too many places, especially in this country, especially in Canada, Like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. If you want to advertise on this platform, email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. Join our Discord group. Paul has to join still, by the way, but email me. And Kofi does too. There is his contact information, Mr. Sadat, and it's also in most of the comment sections where you're watching this live on the replay. And this is where Mr. Morris is, all the different places. And this is where you can touch base with me, website, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Xbox, Twitter, which I'm getting off of very soon. I'm already on Blue Sky. I'm going to start doing some work on Blue Sky, and email address. And as it scrolls along the bottom, you can watch replays of this on the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. The Dr. Vibe Show website, the drvibeshow.com. And next time I will put Paul's Facebook page in too, but you can watch it there too. So let's finish it off. Any final things you want to chat about, Gemma, before we call it a day?
Listen,
or an evening, or wherever you are? Just call it a day.
Appreciation for everybody who was tuned in today. And yeah, man, keep the culture alive. I'm always about the culture. Keep the culture alive. And yeah, let's keep moving forward.
Look out for the Kwanzaa, the Kwanzaa train that's going to be coming up.
It's already started.
There you go. Plug in, look out for information on our socials as well with regards to that, dates, locations, etc. Dinka Farm. Stay tuned.
All right. Just to close out, watching the documentary on Jay Douglas last night, I don't remember who said it, but there are many powerful lines in that movie, but someone said, if you can't make money, make history. I thought it was really powerful. If you can't make money, make history. All right. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher and wider. Love, faith, and respect. And remember, don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and especially give yourself grace. Be well and keep the faith.